AFR Talk.
Welcome back. Trey and Durham, nothing but truth. It's great to be with you. Yeah. We have a wonderful segment planned for you right now. I actually am going to call an audible real quick. Do me a favor and get cut 1 before we run cut 5. And it's Daryl Issa. All right. Now, we're going to get to the question and the calls on the question in just a second, but I thought I'd kick this off because this happened today, and there was a Democratic Congressman, Jim Cooper, who called the Oversight Committee's hearing on the website a kangaroo court and insulted the chairman and the committee, his own committee. This is part of the tactic. Anytime you want accountability, what happens? You get accused of dragging people before Congress and trying to scapegoat people when you're merely asking for accountability. Accountability, we all know, would be Kathleen Sebelius fired and a movement within the United States Congress, as well as from signed on by, after the fact it passes, the repeal of Obamacare. But again, like unicorns, that's not going to really happen. And why am I doing the unicorn thing? I think Catherine and I have been watching Once Upon a Time too much. Have you seen that show? Yeah. I look at that show and they deal with magic and a whole host of things, and good versus evil and Prince Charming and everything. They're missing Jesus. I guess I can't get around that. And I think before I came truly to Christ, I wouldn't have seen it that way. I'd say good versus evil, but there's just an incredible gap. And I like the good versus evil, but the magic straight from the pit. Okay. I know it's fairy tales. I get it. Oh, cool. Yay. But pretty good stories. In this sense. I wouldn't recommend it for kids by any means. The Seven Dwarfs have a different take on him. Peter Pan's a bad guy. Didn't know that. I mean, sure, he dresses kind of funny. I didn't know he was a bad guy. Easy. All right. Tinkerbell's really a bitter person. Fairy. A bitter fairy. Aren't fairies supposed to be just all happy and jolly? Woohoo, yay. Easy. All right, now let's go to Daryl Issa smacking down Jim Cooper today. And we just have a little portion of the exchange. I got this through Gateway Pundit, good friend Jim Hoft. He is still recovering, and he's doing a great job because the site is back and he's working, and it's great. Here is an excerpt. Jim Cooper, Democrat, versus Chairman Issa on this being a kangaroo court oversight committee hearing on the Obamacare website failures. Roll it.
Instilled faith in the process because we are the best nation on earth. We've got to act like it. We do face problems sometimes, but the American spirit is the can-do, we can fix it attitude, not the blame game, not the bickering game. So if there are witnesses who'd like a chance to say a few words in public because you've been treated unfairly, in my opinion, and I would like to have this be an equal playing field.
Would the gentleman yield for just, have I cut off anyone's answer here today?
Will I be able to keep my time?
Of course.
You cut off the ranking member of this committee at the beginning of this committee hearing.
I cut him off a minute into question and answer after he'd exceeded his 5 minutes, but no witness here today has been cut off.
But, Mr. Chairman,
every witness has been allowed to complete their entire answer. I just want to understand, kangaroo courts is quite an accusation, and I hope the gentleman from Tennessee, when he uses the term kangaroo court in the future, will think better of making an accusation. No witness has been cut off. Every witness has been allowed to complete their entire answer.
It's interesting when people are called to account for the bunny stew that they try to put out there. And I love in the beginning how Congressman Cooper sitting there, the American way is the can-do. Well, the American way is not having centrally planned programs that fine you, tax you, if you don't buy a product. The American, I love that. Yeah, it's an American can-do spirit. We can come together. No. Whoa. Hey, I get it when it's defending the nation. Boom, we all come together. I get all that. But when you talk about the American way and the Obamacare, wrong answer. Try again. We'll bring you more of what took place today with the Oversight Committee. It's got to be frustrating when you have people who can filibuster. And when they answer the question, they do it in a very measured tone. They also space their answers because they really don't want to answer the question. So if I were sitting there and be a Democrat or Republican or independent, if I was up there, I would coordinate with the people who desired to get to the truth and coordinate all our questions to make sure that they wouldn't be able to escape. Yeah, I know there's a pause because they go one side to the other, but we'd be able to pick up right where we just left off and go ahead. But that doesn't happen because you got a lot of egos. I mean, the only egos that I've seen Trump talk show hosts are those of members of Congress. Now I'm just playing around. Let's go to what Joe Scarborough said yesterday on The View about Republicans hating. Okay, now the question after this is I want you to respond to Scarborough in the sense of what is the biggest misconception about conservatives within the Republican Party? I would say Democratic Party, but let's be honest, not a lot of conservatives there, okay? Not about R's or D's, but we got to be able to have a conversation. And what is the biggest misconception about conservatives within the Republican Party, specifically the Tea Party conservatives? Which one bothers you the most? And the other is, why do you support or not support President Obama? What is it? What's the reasoning behind your opposition? Do you just hate him or you just love him? He's our president. We pray for him. We pray for him, absolutely. That said, Joe Scarborough on The View. Roll it.
First of all, they're too obsessed on hating Barack Obama. Secondly, I got to tell you, I didn't like Bill Clinton back when I was in Congress. I feel your pain. I'd be like, he's lying. You know he's lying. But when we had a hurricane come to my district, you know what he did? I hugged him. Yes, and I said, you know what? We've got business people that are hurting. Right. We need SBA loans. We've got people that are out of their homes. We need help from FEMA. Yeah. When you have a president come to your district, even the most conservative Republicans will say, I'm glad he's here. We need his help. My kids need to get back to school. So Chris Christie hugged Barack Obama. Get over it.
Were we really... I wasn't terribly upset with the hug. The lack of him speaking up for the candidate was a problem. But this is the kind of thing that's said about those that may oppose Chris Christie, those that look for maybe oppose John McCain within the Republican Party because they're not conservative enough. What is the biggest misconception about conservatives in the Republican Party who are not supporting the establishment and those that are considered moderate? I'm speaking to Tea Party conservatives. You can throw that in there. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. You can answer both of these questions. And the second one is, why do you support or not support President Obama? Is it based on hate or love? What is it? Because when people say they oppose President Obama, it's interesting to me that a number of things are thrown out, and it still bothers me. I still have to cover it because I think it's just something to take away from focusing in on the real issue. I also think it's just a tremendous smear. But what about you? What bothers you? What mischaracterization bothers you? Which false narrative bothers you the most? about conservatives in the Republican Party. We go to Michael in Texas, and it's Michelle in Texas. I need my glasses. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Tell me, you heard Joe Scarborough talking about hating President Obama. You heard him yesterday. We went over it. But is there a misconception that and a false narrative about conservatives that bothers you, Michelle?
That they think we're extremists and we're out to destroy our country and that we're haters.
Yeah, and when you unpack that, you think, okay, we're looking to the Constitution. We're recognizing that God is the source for our rights and government is to protect those rights, and human nature doesn't evolve. It doesn't sound too extreme to me. Is that why it bothers you?
I just think it's just a word game. They're just twisting it, and I think that we have to be better. We have to be just as good at it as they are, but we're not. You know, not that we have to get out there and be the same as they are, but we have to play the game the way they're playing it. But we
go on the offense,
the glory and the honor of God. Tell the truth, but we do it in a way that is engaging to younger people. I'm just so fed up with the way that the Republicans are just dismissing the true conservatives who believe in God and country and who want what's right for their children and grandchildren.
Michelle, well said. I'm just going to leave that because it was so well done. Great to be with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Real quick, I want to answer the second part of the question.
Oh, yeah, you can answer this. Obama, yeah.
I think he's inept. He was never capable of doing the job that people voted him in to do. And what drives me crazy is that people still think that he's able, and he's not.
Not qualified.
How people can't? Yeah, I don't understand how people can't see how unqualified he is.
Well, there's just not enough evidence, Michelle. Come on. Hey, Michelle, appreciate you. Thank you so much. That was great. Let's go to Scott in Tennessee. Hello, Scott. Tell me, you can answer both questions, the mischaracterization or false narrative question, and President Obama. Why do you support or not support President Obama? Scott, Tennessee, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, am I on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. The truth, I'm going to say this first. The truth isn't always popular, but the truth is always right. Mm-hmm. And if you just go down the list with Benghazi and the IRS scandal and all these other scandals, how can you, if you're intellectually honest, how can you even believe anything that is said out of the White House?
Well, that's isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're honest and you don't look at parties or anything else, you just look at the results, what was promised and what was delivered. And when you look at that, yeah, you make a good point. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Fine. You interjected. You didn't interrupt.
I love that. Definite listener.
But, there's just no way if you look at it honestly and objectively and not come to it with, because, and I have Republicans call me all the time wanting money, and I have given money, but I said, until y'all start standing with the Tea Party on these issues, I said, don't call me for any more money. I mean, I just can't see me giving any more money to y'all. And then they said, well, thanks for your call, and then they hung up.
And Brent, hold the break if you can.
And as far as the second question,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I piggyback on the last caller. He's not qualified. I mean, had he not told a lie that you can keep your doctor, or if you like your insurance, you can keep it, I doubt very seriously he would have been reelected.
Good points all. Scott, great to be with you. Thanks for taking the time. It's interesting. I went back and I got the clip from Bill Clinton asked if he was qualified, and he said, well, the American people say he's qualified when they elect him. And it's interesting because he never answered the question. And I guess I'll post that up on the Facebook. By the way, please go to the Facebook page, like the page. Even if you don't like me, like the page. Trying to give it 5,000 likes, engage in the conversation. Let's keep going with some phone calls regarding the false narrative, mischaracterization of the conservative element of the Republican Party, the Tea Party specifically, if you want to go there, and Obama. Why or why not? Do you support him? Does it have to do with hate? Let's go to Justin in the great state of Illinois, because of the people of Illinois, not necessarily the government. Justin, great to be with you. How are you?
Thank you for everything you do, Crane. We appreciate you being out there and voicing our opinions. You know, I think that the worst for me has got to be the consensus among the liberal elites that if you don't agree with their whole process of reporting the news and the way that they spin the story, then you must be a yokel and you just don't get it. I mean, I consider myself to be a reasonably intelligent man. I run a credit union. I feel like I can understand simple topics whenever I study them. And most of the people that are the strongest against Tea Party conservatives have done little to no study themselves. They just take it right off the platter fed to them by the liberal media, and it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, it bothers me too, and it reminds me of sometimes when I'm in a place of a conversation that I don't know a lot about, and let's say it's talking about fashion, okay? I have no fashion sense. I thank heavens for my wife. She dresses me, and I have no problem with that. I say, please just dress me. I don't know, it's not man card, whatever. Here it is. So if I hear something in the fashion world and somebody talks about something, and this is whatever, or even in the area of entertainment, so to speak, I sit there and it's on my mind, and I'll probably repeat it. I'll probably make a part of that. I'm not proud of that, but that's just my sense. I know a little about it. What I do know, here it is, and I invoke it into the conversation and maybe learn something from somebody else. But that's exactly what happens in politics so many times, is they repeat it just enough, low information voter, or even somebody who's relatively in the know, so to speak, in the sense that they're not totally detached. They just catch the news and they read the headline, they may not read the story, and they repeat this nonsense. And you sit there. Go ahead.
Surprised.
Yes.
They're always very surprised whenever you recite some sources and you show them that what they're repeating is not accurate. I mean, they act like it came from another planet whenever you show them that they're not right. And then they always bounce back to the emotional argument, because if you can't win it on facts, win it on emotion.
You nailed it, man. I think you picked your shot, yet you nailed it out of the park. I can't add to that other than say thank you. Do you want to answer the Obama question?
Yeah, you know, I'm from Illinois, and I don't consider him an Illinoisan. He's a Chicagoan. We don't claim Chicago. That's a different state.
What about when the Bears were under Ditka? You claim Chicago then.
Okay. Well, you know, and I'm a Blackhawks fan too. But you know, if the rest of the town, if they decided to form their own state and they just left me the United Center, you know, I'd be okay with that.
All right. Well, we found something to disagree on. I'm a Blues fan, but I love the fact you listen. I'm honored you listen to the show, man. Thanks for being a part of it.
Even though you're a Blues fan,
absolutely.
I love you.
Take care.
God bless you.
Back at you. All right, 2-minute warning, one final call. We'll go to Alan in the great state of Oklahoma. Alan, thanks for your patience. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Mischaracterization, what bothers you the most?
Well, I don't even know where to start, but I think the one that bothers me the most is if you disagree with liberal agenda and liberal ideology, that you are a racist. And it has nothing to do with race. It's a matter of some things are right and some things are wrong. And if it's wrong, then it's wrong. You can't paint it a different color and expect it to be right. It's wrong. It's always going to be wrong. And everything just tends to, well, you don't like this and you're racist, and you don't like this, so you're racist.
Well, they've done so much with the race argument. They on the left. It's interesting. When you talk about something, it's trying to avoid a landmine. And I find myself doing it. Even in an interview a couple of weeks ago with our good friend Bruce Thornton, he was making a statement as a social scientist and talking about something that had been talked about, but I was concerned because I wanted to make sure that people didn't get that in. You mention race in any way, and oftentimes it's not because I want to talk about race. I don't like talking about it. I'm sure you don't like talking about it. It's tired. But you have statistics, you have a whole host of things, or you have a story, say the Trayvon Martin case with George Zimmerman, and you sit there and go, how on earth is this happening? How did Al Sharpton become a source?
A race baiter. That's all that is a race baiter. And then you have the Australian kid that was killed down here just 40 miles south of me by some people because they were bored. And there was no racist card played on that. It was just, it's a tragedy.
Yeah, and the knockout games that we've covered through, which happened in St. Louis, also, and I believe in some other places, but they're getting picked up in other places where knockout games have taken place. And if you talk about the racial element of it, if it's one way to another, and I think it really bothers all of us who hate injustice, regardless of our skin color. We don't like the fact that it's selectively imposed or superimposed over a story when it doesn't belong, and then when there is an element of it, hey, let's be honest about it, whatever way it goes, and it really has stalled the process.
Well, it's one-sided, most definitely. Over the past 5 years, it's become a very one-sided issue.
And generally speaking, I would agree.
But if you look back in history, the Republican Party has not been the racist party. I mean, which party?
Now, Alan, now you're bringing in history. How dare you?
Yeah, you'd have to read to know that.
It's good stuff, man. Hey, I'm up against the break. Obviously, the question on Obama, you're not. It has nothing to do with your dislike of his policies, not to do anything personal. Yes.
No, it's for love of country that I disapprove of him. I mean, he never even proved that he was eligible to run for president.
Well, that was an interesting thing. He's used that very effectively, too. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's interesting on that whole issue, and I appreciate people who are saying, hey, what about the proof and all that? I'm not one of those people that shares that belief, but I understand why it's there, and I also understand how it's been exploited by the administration to deflect any kind of criticism of the particular policy or initiative. That all said, we are going to break, and Brent, we are on our way to break. Yes, sir? And as I hear the band play, I appreciate the phone calls. Yeah, race, big issue. And what I may do is I may bring you the story after the top of the hour and move another story in its place. Because there's a story involving Sarah Palin that you're going to want to hear. Media bias, we have elements of it and examples of it next. You'll want to hear this as well, plus the update on the numbers of Obamacare. Chris Woodward doing some great reporting along with his colleagues at American Family News at the top of the hour. But we've got more truth before and after the news. Hey, stay tuned and go to the Facebook page. Like the page. Thanks. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. AFR Talk.